Hello all, Jamie Rodgers here from Creative Expressions, and today we're going to look at a few of the finishing touches that you could apply to the Rippled Poinsettia die set. This is one of my brand new festive collection and it's one I'm absolutely in love with. Now when these dies cut, not only will they cut, they will also deboss in this radiant effect on each of the petals, which is perfect to highlight. So to begin with in this video, I'm going to share with you a few of my favourite inking techniques. So as you can see, I've taken a white die cut and I have used our Versafine Clair in Nocturne to just go over the top of it to give a really crisp white and black effect. For the next one that we're working on now, I've taken a red die cut from our foundations card and I'm going to use the Red Geranium Make Art ink by Wendy Vecchi to go over the top. Once again, this will give you a very good tone-on-tone effect. If you prefer, use coconut white for your flowers and then go over with the same colour ink to create that effect. Moving on, we're going to use a pigment ink pad. This is White Glacier by Ranger and it's one of my favourite white ink pads. This one's been a bit used and abused and I could possibly do with a new one, to be honest, but it does give a lovely effect to go over the top of the red cardstock because it does really give a vintage style to it. When we take those flowers and we build them up, this is the style of card you could be creating, that sort of vintage frosty effect. Moving on, we're going to take a die cut that I've done this time for an antique copper foundations pearl card and I'm going to use a Distress Oxide in Festive Berries to brush over the top. These dry perfectly on top of our foundations pearl card and that means that we're going to get that lovely antique copper shining through from in each of the ripples to give you a beautiful effect. I also love inking over the top of Mirri card and Stays On is the one that you want to use for this. So I've bought in a jet black Stays On pad to go over the top of my gold Mirri card. Now obviously there are different colours of Mirri card and there are certainly different colours of Stays On, so you could really create some beautiful effects with those as well. As you can see, this black and gold is quite elegant and probably one of my favourite combos, but certainly other options are available. Moving on, we're going to use some of our Gilded Touch from Cosmic Shimmer. This is a water-based gilding wax. So I'm just going to use it on the tip of my finger and brush over each of the petals to highlight that effect. Now, I'm not trying to be too exact here. I sort of want it to look a little bit patchy and a little bit vintage. It's up to you. You could certainly apply this with a smoothie or a blending tool so that you've got a more clean application. But actually, I'd quite like it to look a little bit more vintage and rustic. The gilding wax, or the gilded touch I should say, comes in many colours and you can certainly build those up to have some beautiful effects as well. Onto some Flake and glitter glue. Now this is a magical product from Cosmic Shimmer. It will stay wet until we put either some flakes or some glitter or a product similar to that over the top of it. So I've taken it, I've put it onto my tile and I'm going to work my brayer through it so I've got a good even coverage over the brayer. I don't want any lumps and bumps because don't forget we only want to go over the top of the actual die cut this time. We don't want it to cover it, we just want to highlight them top layers. Now I was a little bit quick with this. The best thing to do with flake and glitter glue is leave it to one side to set for a minute or two, because then that way when you try and brush your flakes or your glitters over the top of it, it's set and it won't brush into any of the sort of grooves or different areas. So be slightly more patient if you're going to do this one at home, but I did really like how it come out and I felt once again it gave me quite a vintage style to it and show you that this could be built up in many mixed media projects in different colours of gilding flakes. You could also go very Christmassy with some of the Aurora flakes from Cosmic Shimmer, or of course you could be using lots of different glitters and bits or similar products over the top of the flake and glitter to get different styles and effects. Moving on for our next one, this time I believe we are going to play with some of our texture pastes. So we're going to go off with a red die cut this time and we're going to use our Glossy Glaze in Heritage Red. Now Glossy Glaze does exactly what it says on the pot. It's going to give you a really glossy finish. So I'm going to take it with a palette knife, put it out onto my tile, and just like we did with the flake and glitter glue, I'm going to bring in a brayer and I'm going to work the brayer through the Glossy Glaze so I've got a nice even coverage. Something to mention as well when we was working with the ink pads, if you would prefer, don't hesitate to use your ink pads with a brayer as well. The brayer is a lot harder substance than the actual felt that you will find on your ink pad, so it's less likely to dip into the actual die cut and colour the back as well as the front. So again, with your inks, if you've got very juicy inks, that can be a nice way just to kiss the top of it with some colour. Now with our glossy glaze, as you can see, that does really give you a glossy finish, and it will dry exactly as you see it here. In this application it will dry very quick as well, but you can also take them out and paint with them. They're water based, so you can mix them down if you wish to, or you could add in other products with them such as glitters and bits as well if you would like more of a sparkle. Moving on, we are going to use another texture paste. This time we're going to use the Ultra Sparkle texture paste from Cosmic Shimmer, one of my favourites. This is the Apple Red, and we're going to use it with a Jane Davenport Skinny Mini blending brush. Now the reason I'm using the blending brush is so I can get it into the jar and hook some of that beautiful glitter out, and then we're going to take this across the top of the flower. Now again, you could be using all manner of blending tools, but I do like the brushes because I find that it actually puts the glitter into the recessed areas, so it will stay within the grooves and it just gives you a really sparkly finish. I'm using Apple Red at the moment, but there's a lovely emerald green if you want to do the bases of your flowers, and also a beautiful gold which I've used on my finish sample you're about to see shortly. But it's a really easy technique to do. Again, dries very quickly. It's water based, so if you did want to, you could add in some water with it and water it down, and of course being a texture paste, if you wanted to hook them out and add in other glitters, you could as well. Here's the completed flowers, as you can see, just with a few different mediums added to them. But of course, you could also bring out this die for summer cards. As I mentioned, this is that beautiful gold from the Ultra Sparkle texture paste. Or maybe you would prefer to mix the mediums I've been using. So this is the white Glacier ink pad with the gilded touch around the edges. All of the products I've shared with you today are available from all good Creative Expression stockists worldwide. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.